I feel like the video is going to be shaking the entire time. That's what happens when you're in a car. Yeah, I guess so. Alright, hey everybody. This is Mike Beatty from Mike vs. the World. And we are on a road trip. We are road tripping from Florida to Philadelphia. And currently in the great boring ass state of Carolina, the south version of Carolina, because at least the north version of Carolina has a little bit to look at. This just basically has this highway here, which is I-95, and a bunch of trees that we are now going through right now. As you can see, you get the distinct pleasure of riding shotgun in my fantastic ride here. I have no idea how this is going to translate. I know I could see my head and the roof of the car, and the whole video is shaking quite a bit. I was going to try and make it so... Yeah, there we go. That's a little bit better. See a little bit more of what's going on. Although you also see the backpack that the camera is resting on in order to make this somewhat safe. So essentially, I just got bored of listening to podcasts for the last 7 hours in this car. I'm probably going to call Ryan soon here and find out what she's up to, but just got done eating lunch. It's about 12:45. Traveling on I-95, exit 62, McLeod Road is about a mile away. That's exciting. And yeah, this is just an experiment because I got tired of listening to podcasts. I kept thinking, man, I haven't done a podcast in forever. So I thought I would strap on the old headphones here. I've got my McDonald's Fountain Coke, which is better than any other Fountain Coke you will ever drink, to keep the old whistle wet, if you would. And it was really cool. So this last weekend here, my weekend, this is a Tuesday, I flew down to Florida to my own stomping grounds in Fort Myers to pick up the last of our crap from down there to move it up to Philadelphia. And the last of that crap included this car and the contents of the car. So that's what I am doing with my Tuesday now. As I flew down on Monday and met up with Derek, which you know from the show, Mike vs. the World, and 3 Count Radio as well, and his wife Catherine. And we also met up with our good buddy from work, Jenna. And we all had a delicious dinner at a place called Fat Cats in Fort Myers. Great place. You should try it out if you were ever in the area. The beef brisket, smoked brisket sandwich was fantastic. Had like some sharp cheddar and a barbecue sauce, and it was on this like perfectly made bun, and the fries were really good. It's got onion straws on it. It was good stuff. So, good food, good company. Swung by my old workplace and said hi to everybody who was still left there. So that was good. And now I'm on the totally long and tedious, boring part of my journey. It started at 3:30 this morning. Got on the road. I actually stopped by the TV station one more time to say goodbye to the morning crew, which I'm actually more familiar with because I was on the morning crew before I left. Lots of newbies there, like a lot of babies working at that station now in the old production department. But it was cool to see them. It was cool to see everybody. And now I'm heading back up north. And I just got bored. I was listening to the Giant Bombcast, which is I really haven't been in the whole video game scene in a long time, because just with kids and everything, I just haven't had a lot of chance to play video games. So in my stupidity, I had forgotten my second iPhone. Yeah, first world problems, forgetting your second iPhone. But the problem with that is that my second iPhone had all my audiobooks on it, so I was going to listen to the Harry Potter series again, which will probably one of these days do a Mike vs. the World about the Harry Potter series. But you got to find a good opportunity to do it. I know they just announced that they're going to come out with that new movie, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them or whatever. I was hoping for a prequel that involved like Albus Dumbledore and Grindelwald, or maybe Voldemort's rise to power, or having, Harry's dad and Sirius Black or something in the school. But this apparently is going to be set in America, in the American version of Hogwarts. So that's kind of cool. it's just like going to be a whole new thing, but we'll see how that goes. I know I'm all over the place. So this episode of Mike versus the World is not going to be about anything in particular. I'm just going to basically talk until I get out of South Carolina. That is the plan, because we have to make this South Carolina road trip go as smoothly as possible. I'm 66 miles in, currently going 80 miles an hour. Oh, see the video slipped a little bit there. It's okay, we'll fix that. So yeah, that's the plan, to see how long the how many minutes of video this can take before the phone fills up here. And if you're listening to this in the audio version, I'm sorry about all the video references. And if you are watching the video version and you can't watch it because the camera is constantly shaking, I feel sorry. I'm sorry about that as well. I'm just very sorry about this episode. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. I just got bored. I can't help it. So what was I talking about? Oh yeah, driving up to Philadelphia. I was listening to Giant Bombcast, which is the guys who used to be over at videogames.com, and they used to have a pretty entertaining podcast. I used to listen to a lot back in like 2007, 2006 area, and but I haven't really followed video games too much lately because I haven't had a chance to play them. So because of that, I just kind of got out of the whole pulse of the system. Like I haven't played a new video game, like a brand new, like recent release, something that I bought for $60 in the store. I have not played one of those games in a long time. In fact, I can't even remember the last game I bought that was $60. Really trying to think of what it was. Maybe I'll come back to that. It might have been Rock Band 3. If that tells you anything. And that was a Christmas present, so I wasn't even playing video games back then. I was basically just playing Rock Band. So my wife got me that for Christmas. So I'm listening to the Giant Bomb's E3 show. And there's one thing that did get brought out in the news that made me actually want to get a next-gen console. And that was the announcement that Fallout 4 was going to be a thing. And I love Fallout 3. Fallout 3 is one of my favorite games of all time. So the idea that Fallout 4 was coming out and the only way I was going to be able to play it was on a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox 3, an Xbox One, got me thinking, like, man, I got to start up a collection for one of these systems because I really want to play Fallout 4. And that would be a silly reason to spend, $300 or $400 on a system to play one $60 game, but I know in the future that I'm going to need to get one of those things because, I use my PlayStation 3 all the time for its streaming services like Netflix and the WWE Network and all that kind of stuff, but I rarely ever actually play a game on it. So, and it's not that I don't ever play games. I've actually been playing Fallout 3 again recently with the announcement of Fallout 4, but I've had so many 360s. I'm on my third one, which is actually my old first one, which has red ringed twice now. My newer one that we bought when we bought a Kinect actually red ringed when my wife was trying to watch Home Alone on it, which is kind of funny. And it didn't red ring; it red dotted because it didn't have the ring on the new Xboxes. So that's still sitting up in my attic right now, not working. It would have cost $90 to fix it, and when it broke, I was poor as hell. I did not have $90 to fix it, so it stayed broken, and I busted out my old Xbox, which I had gotten fixed through a real rigmarole of customer service, because the Kinect is essentially what killed that Xbox, because when it downloaded the new update, it caused it to run way faster and way harder than those old Xboxes were supposed to run. And it was like a common problem that was showing up on the forums everywhere. And once I kind of told them that, hey, I'm kind of in on this whole thing. I know what happened. I know exactly what killed my Xbox. Please just repair it for free. Eventually they did. But I just didn't put that in the storage because I had my new Xbox that I had bought because I was sick and tired of the old one red ringing, because that was like the second time it had red ringed. So I'm playing basically what I'm trying to say is my old 360 games I'm playing on my old Xbox, because my Newer Xbox is sitting up in the attic, red ringing. But so that brings me to my first discussion topic here, is I'm trying to figure out, if I am going to buy one of those next-gen consoles, what one do I buy? Because, I mean, over the last 2 generations of consoles, the 360, PS3, PS2, Xbox wars, I've kind of gravitated toward Xbox both times, and it's not necessarily for any reason other than the fact that, sorry about the video there, that Xbox's first-party games have just been superior in my opinion. I mean, like, you had games like Halo, which I loved playing with the guys back in the day, and like Gears of War was great. I loved Crackdown. It was a fun game back with, with 360 first came out. The game that you bought because it had a Halo 3 demo on it. Well, I mean, that ended up being a really cool game. So I've enjoyed the first-party Xbox stuff more than I've enjoyed the Sony first-party stuff. Of course, I have not played like the Uncharted games, which I've heard are pretty damn good, and a couple other things too. But the reason I ended up buying, I had Xbox 360 and no other system for the longest time. The game that actually made me go out and buy a PS3 was Metal Gear Solid, and that eventually became because I thought it was going to be a PS3 exclusive, and it ended up coming out on both systems. But I mean, the PS3 I use more than on my Xbox 360, but I will totally say that as far as games go, the 360 had it beat. I mean, I have like 25, 30 games, or did have 25 or 30 games before my story here I'm about to tell you, for the 360, and I have maybe 5 for the PS3. Pardon me. So, for me, the 360 by far has been the better gaming system. So in that aspect, I kind of want to get an Xbox One, because I'll be able to play Halo, I'll be able to play, if there's a new Gears of War, I'll be able to play that, and, plus, I kind of like, I like it, but it's just they've screwed me so much in the past with the red ringing that I don't want to give them any more of my money. Like, I kind of am leaning toward the Xbox over the PS4 in terms of what it can bring me, but I just don't want to give Microsoft my money because of how many times their old system has broken on me. And I have had a Sony system break on me once, but it was like a PlayStation 2 that I played the shit out of. Like, I really ran that thing into the ground. So it's not understandable that it would have broken at one point. So, and I really do like my PlayStation 3. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just I've always played my games on Xbox more than PlayStation 3. That's just the way it's been. So the other thing is that right now the PS4 is $400 and the Xbox One is $350. Plus, you can get the Xbox One bundle with the Halo collection for $350, and I think that the PlayStation 4 has a bundle for $400 that comes with like The Last of Us, which is a game I really, really, really want to play, but I have not done so yet. So, and then that's why Derek says it's like his favorite game of all time. So I'm kind of interested in like checking that out. So it's a question of do I give $350 to Microsoft and be able to play Halo, or do I give $400 to Sony and get The Last of Us, which I'm probably going to play regardless? So it's one of those things. But at E3 this week, it was announced that the Xbox One is going to have backwards compatibility coming soon. So that's another thing. Like I was saying that, man, if I could play my PS3 games on my PlayStation 4, I would go buy a PlayStation 4 tomorrow and just trade in my PlayStation 3. Which, I'm still kind of thinking about, but I don't know. I'm torn on it. So I'd like to know what the listeners think. If you do listen to Mike versus the World, what do you think I should do? I'm at a crossroads in my life of whether or not to, because I'm at a point now in my life where I only need one of the systems. I don't need to have all of them anymore, which I was at one point in my life, one of those people that needed to have all the systems. So I'm now, as a 32-year-old man, father of two, wife of one, husband of one. I don't need every single console, and I'm kind of done with Nintendo at this point because they're too kitschy for me. And I want an Uber system. I want something that's going to play Netflix. I want something that's going to play Hulu, the WWE Network, Blu-rays and all that kind of stuff. So, because I use all of that stuff. So yeah, what should I do? I mean, I'm leaning, the Xbox 360, I like the games better, but the PlayStation 4, I like the hardware better, so I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to die if I don't get to play Halo, because I don't have time to multiplayer game with my friends now anyway, so most of my gaming experiences on either system is going to be a single-player version. So I might be just a little bit too nostalgic for Halo, just thinking like, oh, but it's Halo. Like, I love Halo. I just slipped into a British accent for no reason. But maybe I don't really need to play Halo anymore. Because the first player Halo it's all right. It's perfectly fine. But I don't know. So as I was listening to this podcast about video games and E3, a huge topic seemed to be virtual reality. And it's happening. It's going to happen soon. There was the Xbox demonstration about HoloLens with Minecraft. It was fucking mind-blowing. I don't even know if it was mind-blowing because of the technology or the fact that they were able to put that technology on a camera so you could actually see what it would look like if you were wearing the goggles. That was freaking amazing. So that was cool. And then they interviewed some other people who were just talking about developing games for the VR. I don't remember exactly what the equipment that they were using was, and it's not that important for the story, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. But it got me thinking, like, is virtual reality, like lenses and things, something that I would want to invest in, as a old-fashioned gamer who likes to play his games on the TV. I mean, is it really something that I would use? And then I got to thinking, like, what are my favorite games of all time? Well, my favorite game of all time is Resident Evil 4. I'm a freaking sucker for the Resident Evil games. I'm kind of a Capcom fanboy. If I ever do a video game show in the future, hopefully if I can get my friend Chad, who lives in Japan, that's the biggest problem with trying to get him on one of these podcasts, is the fact that he lives in Japan. If I can get him on one of these shows, I definitely want to talk video games with him, because we used to do a video game show, and that's basically all he does for a hobby. He plays video games and he watches some television once in a while, so those are his hobbies. And I want to get him on to talk about that, because we can then go over like what our top 10 video games of all time are. And I think last time I did a top 10 list for my video games, I would say that at least 5 to 7 of those video games were Capcom games. So I don't know if that would still ring true or not, because I haven't played a whole lot of games recently, but I wonder. It makes me think about it. But on my top 10, Resident Evil 4 is up there. Resident Evil 2 is up there. The GameCube remake of the original Resident Evil is great. Code Veronica, one of my favorite games of all time. So, of the Resident Evil series, 4 games are like probably in my top 10. Maybe not the GameCube remake, but... And I thought, could you imagine if you had one of these virtual reality goggle things and you were able to like play a Resident Evil game? Like, let's just, for the sake of argument, let's put your mind to where maybe like you're going through the first Resident Evil, where you come into that mansion, but you're not seeing it on a screen, you're seeing it, in your face. Could you imagine playing that for the virtual reality goggles? I think that would be mind-blowing. Not only just for the the immersiveness of the world, being able to look around at everything that was in that mansion, but when you open a door and thinking like, oh my god, is there going to be a zombie around this door? And then to actually have it like interact with you in like a virtual reality thing. That would sell the equipment for me. If they could find some way to give. I mean, and I've heard that the Walking Dead games are pretty good for the game systems, but I know they're point-and-click adventures. But if they could come up with a virtual reality game that gives you a fairly accurate experience of being in a zombie apocalypse, that would freaking sell the equipment for me. I would go out and buy them specifically for that experience. And I can think of a few other people that would probably do the same exact thing. Spacebuck Chuck from Nerd Mode comes to mind. I mean, he and I have done 2 podcasts on his show talking about zombies, each about 2 hours long. So he and I can go on and on and on and on about zombies. And the thing is to be able to actually, like, because everybody has always thought about, like, what would you do if you were in a zombie apocalypse? And to be able to, like, actually put on a pair of goggles and somewhat simulate that in a safe environment, that's like 10 degrees of badass right there. It'd be so fun. So that was like, listening to the virtual reality stuff, and they're talking about, like, playing tetherball, or racing a car, or flying a jet, or doing all this other stuff. And I was just thinking, like, man, give this thing like 5 years, and if you could really make a fun zombie world experience with this thing, I mean, that would be it. That would just be the end all be all for me. That just, like, sign me out, take my money, put me in poverty. I don't care. I have to experience this. That'd be too awesome. So we're coming up on 21 minutes here now into this thing. I just passed Interstate 26, the fork from 95, so I'm about 60 miles outside of Florence. So I don't think there's any way this podcast is going to last while I'm in the entire state of South Carolina. So, because I don't have a whole lot more I want to talk about, but at least, alleviated my boredom for a little while. So what else is there to talk about? I guess if you've gotten this far into the show and you're watching this on YouTube or something, check out my iTunes feed. It's Mike versus the World. You can search that on iTunes, or you could go to MikeBeattyversusTheWorld.blogspot.com. That's where I post links to my episodes, as well as, like, some of the top 10 lists that we've been doing on the shows, and other little stuff like that. Like, we made a Guardians of the Galaxy playlist that was actually pretty good. So we thought, hey, why not try to create the Awesome Mix Volume 2? So I put it on the Facebook page, which is Facebook.com/Mike Beatty versus the World. And a few listeners chimed in, which was pretty cool. And we came up with a list of what the Awesome Mix should be. And if I can do this, I've listened to it so much recently. Like, I made it a playlist on my iPhone. And it should be fairly easy to come up with the order here. So it started off with Radar Love by Golden Earring. And then it goes to Play That Funky Music by Wild Cherry. Then it is Let It Whip by the Daz Band. Let it whip, don't bang it, don't ride, don't whip it right. That song. That was the third cut. 4 was Sympathy for the Devil by the Rolling Stones. 5 was... This is not good radio, by the way. I should probably stop doing this. 5 was Let's Get It On by Marvin Gaye. Then there was Brandy, You're a Fine Girl by Looking Glass, maybe? I can't remember for sure. Then there was Love Roller Coaster by the Ohio Players. Something about the Thin Lizzy song. Jailbreak by Thin Lizzy. And Hold On Loosely by the 38 Special. Baby Come Back by Player. And I think the last song was 20th Century Boy by T-Rex. So that's a pretty good playlist right there. If you ever want a good, like, 70s late 60s, 70s / early 80s playlist to listen to. So we came up with that for the show. And I actually came up with a whole nother a B-side list of for the Super Mix Volume 2 or Awesome Mix Volume 2 that I actually like quite a bit. So I have both of those on MikeBeattyVSTheWorld.blogspot.com. So check those out. So I guess the next thing I'll talk to you about is as we're going through the jungle of South Carolina here, is I went to go see a movie a couple weeks ago, maybe like two and a half weeks ago. Big movie. Some of you might have seen it. I heard it did fairly well in the movie theater. Jurassic World. It's only like the biggest opening of all time, which surprised the hell out of me that not only beat the Avengers this year, but beat the Avengers like before, and like was literally the biggest opening weekend of any movie ever. And I think that's awesome. It's cool. I'm just shocked it happened because I guess it was like the perfect time for this movie to come out. People were like drooling over it. I know I was when I saw the trailer for. It kind of sucked though because I saw the trailer for Jurassic World, and then like not 2 days later, that fake trailer for Star Wars came out, and it was like, oh, screw Jurassic World, Star Wars. And then the trailer ended up being fake, so I went back to my love for Jurassic World. And then the real trailer for Star Wars came out like a week and a half later or something like that. But either way, Jurassic World. I freaking loved the first movie. Loved Jurassic Park. It's one of my favorite adventure movies of all time. Like, I love Jeff Goldblum as Ian Malcolm. I loved Samuel L. Jackson in that movie. Dennis Knight. All the characters in that movie were so good. I don't know the names of the actors who played Dr. Grant or Ellie, or even the kids, or the guy, the European or Australian hunter guy. He was fantastic in the first movie. But I loved it. I saw that in the theater. It was one of the first movies I ever saw in the theater in 1993. I think, it was before Mortal Kombat. So I think that at that point, when Jurassic Park came out, I think I had only maybe watched one or two like Disney cartoon movies in the theater before. So that was like the first real like live action movie that I saw in the theater, and I just remember as a kid being blown away by it and thinking it was just the coolest thing ever. So cool that I actually went out and bought the book Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton, and the movie and the book are a bit different. I mean, the events of both are very, very similar, but the book is a Michael Crichton book, so it's very, very technical. But as a middle schooler, I kind of dug it. I think I finally read the book in like 1994 or 5. So I know I definitely was in middle school. But as a middle schooler, I was a super huge nerd, and so I really dug the technical aspect of it. And I kind of wish that they had thrown in like the whole like dinosaur count stuff and the chaos theory probability crap that was in that book. So loved the first movie. I'm going to come out right out and say in my Jurassic World review here that it is not as good as the first movie. It's obviously done better than the first movie did, which is crazy to think. I mean, only time will tell if it stands the test of time. But I will say that the movie is not as good as the original. It doesn't have the characters and the charm of the first movie. But the people in the movie did a fantastic job. I thought, I know a lot of people were kind of crapping on Chris Pratt's character a little bit in the movie. I, right off the bat, after seeing the trailer, called him Dino Lord, because it seemed like they just took Star-Lord's character and plopped him into the world of, into Jurassic World and called it good, but it wasn't quite that. I mean, Chris Pratt's character as, Star-Lord's a lot more quippy and a lot more crazy than this guy was. This guy was a little bit more serious, but he still did a really good, I thought Pratt did a really good job. I thought Ron Howard's daughter did a fantastic job as the female lead in this movie. Vincent D'Onofrio, who played Kingpin in the Daredevil Netflix series, I thought did a really good job. So I thought the movie was really, really good. It was fantastic for a summer blockbuster, action movie involving dinosaurs. It was fantastic. Not as good as the original, but still totally watchable. So I give it the Mike Beatty stamp of approval. I'm not going to spoil too much for you, but the raptor stuff was pretty freaking cool. Let's see, what else do I want to talk about? I thought about maybe, because I knew I wanted to talk about Jurassic World, I thought maybe trying to come up with, my top 5 Steven Spielberg movies. But because I'm driving in the car, that's the kind of thing that requires, looking at a list of all of his movies and actually, trying to analyze, where do I want to put, the Indiana Jones movies versus, Jurassic Park versus all the other stuff that he's done. I'm trying to come up with stuff off the top of my head. This is never a good idea for me. I need to have some kind of reference point in front of me. So maybe after I'm done recording this podcast, I'll give Ryan a call, and her and I can hash out a decent top 5 or top 10 list of Steven Spielberg movies. Slap that up on the website. It's unfortunate I can't just record a call like that on the road, because she could do the research and we could hash it out here on the show. But it's unfortunately life and phones don't work that way. All my recording equipment is back up in Philadelphia. So we're crossing a fairly big river right now. I think this might be, it's actually so big it probably is a lake. Let's take a look here. So yeah, South Carolina never ceases to amaze me, right? Every single time I come up on this, I've done this trip 3 times now, where I've driven from Florida to Philadelphia in a car one way. Once in my original car, my Buick, and the second one in the U-Haul truck, which was a awful trip, awful. And now I'm doing it in Ryan's car in the Pontiac here. So it's this has been much more pleasant. I have an auxiliary port where I can plug my phone right into the radio and listen to it. It's got leather seats. It's nice and roomy. So it's been a pretty comfortable trip. I just got freaking bored here in South Carolina. But getting to have dinner with everybody on Monday was pretty cool. I miss Derek and Catherine quite a bit. I mean, I get to talk to Derek, every other week or so for 3 Count Radio, but don't actually get to spend time with him and just talk about life. I kind of wish that we could maybe just get together on Skype and do that, but of course, it never works out unless we record it as a podcast, and I don't know what to do that as a podcast. I mean, there was back when I was going by my pen name of Mike Winchester, we had come up with an idea for a podcast called Winchester and McCaslin's Irish Pub, where basically Derek and I would just get a recorder, microphone or whatever, and just the key to that show was going to be we had to be in the same place at the same time. We would have one microphone, and we were gonna do that on location. We were actually gonna go to some place and record at a coffee shop or something, because I know that's something some podcasters do. My idea was to literally go to a bar or a pub to do it and see if they would let us record, but that one never got off the ground. But it might be a cool idea just for a show where we don't talk about wrestling. We just talk about things in life, kind of like we did at dinner, which was a lot of fun. And unfortunately, Derek and I have known each other for 27 years now. Have been really good friends for 25. We knew each other in first grade, but we didn't have the same classes together, so we didn't really weren't friends. We weren't really friends until second grade. Pardon my drinking here. And also pardon my ums. I told myself that I would never do a single person podcast because I think they're awful. But hearing Spacebug Chuck do his single person podcast recently have made me like think, maybe like rethink that. I like listening to his show, so getting to hear, I mean, even hearing him by himself for a little bit there was not too bad. So I thought maybe I could do it myself too. So I'm breaking my own podcasting rule with this thing to do a show that's not just not more than one person. So if you like it, I'm probably not going to do a whole lot of them because basically I'm just trying to kill some time here. But if you like it, then cool, awesome. And I've totally gotten myself down a rabbit hole. I don't remember how to get back to it now. Something about... Oh yeah, we were having dinner. And Derek and I have known each other for a long time. So his wife knows all of our stupid stories growing up. But unfortunately, we got to talking about, one situation or another. And our fourth person who was joining us, Jenna, only knows us from work because we both worked with her. And the story that we came up with, unfortunately, led way back to when he and I started drinking for the first time, and we were late bloomers with alcohol. I didn't start actually imbibing in alcohol versus maybe stealing a beer here or there, or a shot of whiskey, or a Mike's Hard Lemonade or something, in high school. To where I would actually drink to get drunk in college, which was my sophomore year at Central Michigan. And Derek would come up and join me often for the weekend because I roomed with our buddy Chad. So the three of us would basically we had 4 other roommates. We were sharing a big house up there on Main Street, and our landlord was 21. So he bought the whole house alcohol. We'd just give him money and he would buy us stuff. So our first time I gave him a $20 bill and he brought us back the cheapest alcohol he could get. That was somewhat strong. So we got 99 apples. And if you've ever had 99 apples, it is not a good alcohol. I don't even know how to explain it. I don't know what category it would fall under. If it would be I think it's just a liqueur. It was 99 proof, which is why it was 99 apples. And Derek, Chad, and I drank that thing in about 15 minutes, a fifth of it. And I remember our roommates being like, guys, you gotta just slow down. And we're like, shut up, F you. We're from Flint, Michigan. We know how to drink. And that night, I remember falling in the bushes a couple of times. We walked to a party that was it felt like it was 50 miles away, but it was probably only half a mile away. That was just the longest night of my life because I was so drunk walking to the party. And once we got to the party was full. I mean, you could not get into the house that we had walked to because it was a baseball party or a football party or something. So we were just kind of hanging outside, and one of our friends got into the house somehow and came out with 4 red Solo cups full of beer. And we got about halfway through that red Solo cup of beer and the cops showed up. So, us being underage dropped the beer and just started running. And then we had to make that 50-mile track back home, sobering up. And that was even worse than the walk to there, because at least the walk to there was fun. The walk back home was not any fun at all. So one story led to another, and I got unfortunately I embarrassed myself a little bit, and I'm not going to tell the story on this show now because my face is right there on the camera. If I was just an audio automaton and didn't have my real name attached to this, I might tell you the story, and I might in the future if the situation ever arises. But it did involve alcohol, a hot tub, and not being fully clothed. I'll say that. So Jenna got to hear all of our crazy, me being 23, 24 years old stories, and it was a little embarrassing, but I guess that's what you get for being friends with Derek and I. There was the beer championship belt. That was pretty cool, where I spent a good hour of my life taking one of my friend Rob's old workout belts, the ones that are supposed to give your back support, and spray painting it white taking a cardboard box and cutting a circle out of it and taping tinfoil on the front and writing in Sharpie on the tinfoil, beer championship belt. And that championship belt made the rounds because it was like the drinking game championship belt. So we had a tournament to decide the original beer championship winner. And it was decided with a flip cup tournament, which I won, by the way.